See, we're recording. I don't know that, are we streaming live yet? Can't quite tell.
Recording in progress.
Okay, there we go. All right, good evening. I would like to call to order this special meeting of the Land Use and Building Management Committee. It is January 7th, and I would like to move forward at this point with the public hearing. Item A, Parking Authority leasing of Sono train station to Sono Brewing Company. Item 1, authorize the leasing of approximately 1,059 plus square feet of space at the South Norwalk train station inbound side to Sono Brewing Company for a term of 10 years with 3 leasee options to extend the term for consecutive 5-year periods each, rent to be negotiated and approved by the Norwalk Parking Authority. Do we have anyone who has joined us for the public hearing and would like to speak? I don't see anyone. We'll just give it a minute just in case someone wants to join in. All right, well, I don't see that anyone has joined, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and move on to roll call. Tonight we have with us council members Jim Frayer, Heather Dunn, Greg Burnett, Nicole Eady, and DeJuan Wiggins, as well as myself, Barbara Smith. And next is the acceptance of the minutes. The minutes of December 4th, 2024. Will someone like to move that, please? Ms. Eady moves the minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, omissions? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor of the minutes, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Is there anyone signed up here for public participation? Has anyone joined us? I don't see anyone in the attendees, so I'm going to go ahead and close public participation. And move on to old business. Before we move to item A, I just want to make a note that due to the holidays and having to schedule this special meeting, there were 2 discussion items at the December meeting that are going to be continued to the February meeting, where we'll have more time. And that was the solar discussion with SNU, as well as maintenance of all city-owned buildings. So we'll just move those to the February meeting. And then moving on to item A, Parking Authority leasing of Sono train station to Sono Brewing Company. Number 1, authorize the leasing of approximately 1,059 plus square feet of space at the South Norwalk train station inbound side to Sono Brewing Company for a term of 10 years with 3 leasee options to extend the term for a consecutive 5-year period, 5 years period each, rent to be negotiated and approved by the Norwalk Parking Authority. Will someone move the item, please? Mr. Frayer, thank you very much. Yeah, so we had sent this off or we had scheduled the public hearing last month. And so by moving forward tonight, we will send this to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which will be meeting, I believe, tomorrow night, and then on to the Common Council. Are there any questions or concerns? Alan, do you want to, add some additional comments?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And more than a few sentences, nothing to say.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is just, there have been tenants in there, there's no change in space, no change in the use, and so I will, unless there's any questions or concerns, I'll call for a vote. Ms. Dunn?
Is this the parking garage that we're leasing space, or?
It's actually in the train station. I guess, Brian, why don't I turn that over to you?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the time that everyone's giving. It's on the New Haven side of the train station where the Lobster Craft used to be. Is that any other questions on the location, Ms. Dunn?
So it's on the flat land where people are parking.
It's the
Right.
it's the location on the outside parking lot, correct? On that side of inside the train station, next to the Fashion Institute. Got the train station part of it, then you got the Fashion Institute, and then the Lobster Craft area. That's the area. Excuse me. That's the area that we're leasing for for Sono Brewing. Well, we're looking forward to doing that.
So you can park there for free if you're
There's
going.
going to be no. There's temporary parking on the. They have a couple spaces on the outside that Lobster Craft used to have for temporary parking for people picking up and leaving, but it's not long-term parking over there. It's kind of similar to what we have with the Fashion Institute. The owner has one space dedicated to her for use, but not for this retail space.
But so I guess my question is, so they're not paying the parking authority to park there because it's free use for them once they've rented it, right? They're
It's
customers.
well, the lease rent that they'd be paying includes those spaces for their use. But the rest of the parking lot is ran by the parking authority and is for payment.
But this is in the station, is it not? It's not
Correct.
in the parking lot.
It's part of the larger parking lot, but is at the very end towards Monroe.
I was just trying to figure out, not that it matters, but I was just trying to figure out, they're renting the spaces if they were additionally paying parking
No.
rentals. They're not. Okay.
No.
Thank you. Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
So people who are coming to go to the restaurant will have to pay to park, just like it used to be with Lobster Craft, right?
Yeah, but it's more of like their business model is more of a grab and go.
Oh, okay.
They will have a couple cafe chairs and tables, but it's more of like it's dealing with the train station commuters.
Right, typical. Yeah, got it.
Correct.
Okay. Any more questions? All right, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Right, opposed? Yeah, that looks unanimous. Okay. Moving on to new business, item A, review final GMP for the Norwalk Community Recreation Center and refer the following to the Common Council for action. 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a final guaranteed maximum price GMP Amendment 2 to Newfield Construction Group LLC's contract for the new Norwalk Community Recreation Center at 98 South Main Street for a total not to exceed $4,645,770. Terms of the agreement shall include the following: total trade costs, $3,570,686. CM fixed fees at 1.95% for $264,260. CM contingency fee at 1.5% for $192,581. Balance revert to the city at project completion. General condition fee, $618,243. Funds are available from account numbers noted. Do I have to read all those? I don't have to read all those. Okay, yeah, and will someone move that, please? Ms. Dunn, thank you. I do want to just before we, talk about the, discuss, I do want to point out that the BET did indeed approve the special appropriation last night. We talked about this pretty extensively in our December meeting, really been a topic of conversation with the bids coming in higher than expected. But we do have that special appropriation secured. So, Alan, I'll turn it over to you now.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. Yeah, so from the last month's meeting, we went through the approval and through the Common Council approval, we call it early GMP, guarantee maximum price. Fundamentally, the reason why we did that is because we have about $6 million worth of ARPA money that has a commitment deadline by the end of December. So that's why we did the early GMP, so that we secure that approval and contract. So there was a contract amendment issued, prepared and executed by the mayor and through the law department. So at the same time, we went through a whole working session internally. We figured out how to continue to reduce the cost. At the end of the day, we found about $1.1 million of a reduction. But still, even with that, we still need $2.45 million in order to make the project whole. So what's in front of us tonight is the approval of the balance of the trade contracts, netting out the cost of the reduction of $1.1 million. So it came out to be almost $4 million, $3 million that it is. Subject to this committee approval, it will go to the Common Council next week. Thereafter, we'll start construction probably like early part of February and anticipate completion, and Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong, at the end of the year by December. I think that's last time. It's about 12 months. So.
Yes, I did look it up. It's goes into February of 2026, just finishing
February?
things up.
So it's
Yeah.
about a year from now. So that is our current schedule. What else is there? In order to come up with $2.45 million, we reduced the owner contingency a little bit. But at the same time, I believe we were about 3.5% for owner contingency, plus the CM contingency about a little more than 1%. So we still have 4 or 5% of contingency in the budget. And assuming that if there's, I think a couple of things that we haven't included, I think it's we still have allowance for furniture. I think it's about $360,000 if I remember correctly. FF&E, it may not be enough, but with if any kind of residual contingency that we may have, we can actually kind of look at those numbers again to see whether we may have some more flexibility to capture some of the FF&E item that we reduce somewhat. So, but again, we still have a $360,000 worth of FF&E allowance in the contract. So with that, I think that's basically what I have to say. Thank you.
Questions? Comments?
So just one last note, subject to this committee approval, the special appropriation is going to the Planning and Zoning Commission tomorrow night, and it's going to go to the Finance Committee on Thursday night. So Greg, what happened is that if you look at the agenda that was issued this afternoon, I think just may have accidentally added this same action that we're doing tonight onto the Finance Committee agenda. So it really, the approval of the contract with Newfield Construction is going to the Land Use Committee and go to Common Council. Meanwhile, special appropriation go to Finance Committee and go to Common Council. So when you see the agenda, it may have the same item on it. I think at Thursday's night meeting, if you could, maybe you just withdrew that item because it's being handled by the Land Use Committee.
Mr. Burnett?
Yes, Alan, I saw the draft agenda, and so that item should not be addressed by the Finance Committee, the first item?
It's being handled by land use because it's a contracting construction related action.
All right. Well, we might have time to send out a revision of the agenda before Thursday. We can send one out tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Also, Barbara, this is
Sure.
Robert Stewart.
Yeah. Hi, Robert.
I want you to know that Parks and Recreation was involved in with Alan in the lowering the cost. So we try to protect what would be integral to the center. So we were very much involved in the engineering costs. So just wanted everyone to know that.
Great, thank you, and I do appreciate that because, you know, we know that we want to make sure that, you know, we keep programs and programming intact. So that's good. Thank you. Okay, anything else? Mr. Freyer?
Yeah, I'm just interested, Alan, could you just address a few of the major areas of the value analysis that you did? You know, I was wondering whether the size of the building or the size of the outside basketball court or any of that, was that thoroughly thought out, and was that something that we had to keep at that particular size, or there's no other way? I guess my thing is, my thought is that we go back a long way with this building, and it seems to get, every time we address it, it just gets it gets more and more and more expensive. You know, we probably could have done this 5 years ago for half the price. But were there any other major areas that could have been addressed that were just off the table? Or maybe Robert, you could ask that. I mean, the size of the building, the size of the basketball court outside, could it be 2 half courts, or something along those lines?
I can talk a little bit on this, Joanne, and
Yeah.
Alan can add in. I know we kept the basketball court the same. We did do some engineering on the particular type of flooring, and there were some things that we deferred. We tried to keep the sides of the building basically intact, but we did defer some stuff. Some of the there was a lot of cameras that I thought were unnecessary that we eliminated. We kept the ones that I thought were ones we needed in terms of security. So there were some systems things that added a lot more than what we actually needed at the center, but we also deferred some. There's also other things that we could add in, like there were cabinets like in the closets. We didn't really need cabinets in the closets. We could put shelving down the road, but there's other things that Joanne would probably be closer to it. We worked together, but we didn't have to reduce the size of the building. And in terms of cost of recreation centers, believe me, I've been around a lot of recreation centers being built. This is very inexpensive compared to some of the recreation centers that I've been involved with that were not even this large. I'm talking about 21,000 square feet, 27,000 square feet. We had a really good price for this so far, believe me. It may seem a lot, but I think from my vantage point, I think we're getting a good deal. But anyway,
I'm not criticizing the price. I'm not complaining about the price, really.
Right.
I'm just putting it in perspective for over the many years that we've seen this particular property, and all sorts of different iterations of what we wanted to do with it. And it's just great that we finally decided to do something with it that's going to be very productive and a keystone for the neighborhood. So I'm just curious, and maybe Joanne, you could just go.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Mr. Freyer, I just wanted to let you know that the gym, though, that we're talking about is indoors.
Yeah.
There isn't one outside. There's just the normal one in Ryan Park, and we're not touching that one.
Okay.
But we did go through an exercise too, where we looked at making the basketball court smaller, to the point of like a middle school. And we just didn't feel like that would be helpful to the programming and to the community in general. So, but we still did bring it in, as well as take some windows out and many of those types of things. And there's some things we're even looking at with the flooring, and we took out the center divider. So there is pretty significant things that we did take out. And I think Alan might know it. We took over, I believe it was like 1.5 million just totally
1.1.
out. You know,
And
1.1.
They turned to $1.1 million. We were targeting
Right.
about 1.3.
Yes.
I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, it's part of the IT package that
Right.
we were hoping to reduce it by 300,000 because the bids came in at $500,000. We were trying to get down to $200,000, but we couldn't get it down that low. So bottom line is that we were aiming for 1.3, but we ended up with 1.1. I think those summary of what was reduced is actually in the Newfield's GMP package. So if
Yes.
anybody's interested in knowing a little more detail what we do, what we reduce, it's in there. So it just had to go through all the details. But one of the things we couldn't do is that once we bid it out, we could not change the size of the building. So we can't cut the building, make it smaller because it changed all the drawings and everything to be rebid again. So we wouldn't be able to do it. So basically, once the bids comes in and we need to approve something because of the deadline for whatever, so there's really not an opportunity to reduce the size of the building, even if there's a desire to. It doesn't work because then we got to rebid the whole package and it changes all the and then a lot of times, this is a very kind of interesting construction economy from the municipal construction. I myself talked to Newfield Construction about it. We both recognizing that, these costs are, some of it is just kind of, I wouldn't say outrageous. I think it's excessive, but at the same time, there's always concern that even when we bid it, there's no guarantee the number is going to come in lower, if it's the same package, because just the way the climate is, people just put a number in. If it works, it works. It doesn't, sometimes they don't care about. So I think what we did was we went out to these apparent low bidders. We worked with them to figure out what we can reduce in terms of like material that may not matter to us, kind of thing. And the specification code or something, a little more quality. I wouldn't say we reduce the quality, not so much to a bad quality. It just instead of whatever kind of just one grade below, we say 20 grand or something like that. So those are things we look at. So and then we also had a number of allowances in the contract, so we kind of took those out. So that's how we came up to $1.1 million of reduction. So it is a good effort in today's market. I think we did. At the end of the day, nobody wants to see a project come in higher than an estimate, but at the same time, it's I think, Newfield for all these years, for last, I would say, 8 years or so, I think they've been doing very well in terms of estimating and bidding, but it's just this recent climate, it's very unusual. And, certain trade could be like 25%, 30% higher than what our estimate is, and there's nothing we can do about it. You can bid it, and again, may come even higher because they know it's just it's really a contractor's market right now for what we do.
Well, I think it's just important that you tell this group, what steps you went through in order to try to get it down to a really manageable price for the city. So I think it's great that you were able to get as much as you did out of it, squeeze that much out of it.
Thank you.
Anything further? Mr. Burnett?
Yes, Alan, I know you mentioned that there's a small percentage of contingency available, but do you foresee any other major gates as it relates to moving this project forward, which might require coming back for additional capital dollars to complete the project? Or do you feel we've addressed all of the main issues, and at this point, anything that might be addressed can be contained within the contingency? Like for example, once they start putting shovels in the ground, do we anticipate any issues with the soil, any contamination, and something along those lines that you know, when you start doing a project, whether it's big or small, there's always something that's gonna come up. So I'm just asking, is there anything that potentially could raise as an issue at this point?
You asked a question that's this. I could simply tell you that, you know, to my best ability through all these years in doing these projects, the number we propose, I don't want to come back ever to come back to the city and the common council and board of Essex to ask more money for this project. It is what we have the amount of contingency we have. To my best ability, we have enough to should have enough to cover this project. The place that we find contaminated, well, just want to couple of things. The first thing is that this building is originally built in 1983. So in terms of like environmental hazards wise, there should be little to none in this building, because in terms of lead, in terms of asbestos, those issues are all typically wouldn't happen in 1983. So I'm not very concerned about the existing building having unknown conditions, environmental conditions. We did test the ground, we did test borings, and we know there's contaminated soil and what type it is, not contaminated, polluted soil. We know what type is, how deep it is. And of course we can't, it's not like we can dig every foot. We did, I think it's 4 test pits, like 4 corners of the gym, the proposed gym. So, and we also, after we did analysis of it, we can keep the material on site. Again, it's called polluted soil, which includes like, you know, old backfill material and stuff like that. It's not contaminated soil, so we can leave it on site. So, but potentially when we may have to move some material aside. I think we allowed $130,000 or something like that in allowance still in the contract to cover that. And also, I think, and we also do geotechnical tests already, so we know how far we have to go down into the soft soil. We have piles in there that we anticipated already. So we've done everything we can in terms of predicting what we're going to find. So I am comfortable at what we have in front of us. Back to your question, I don't anticipate, I don't project, I don't want to have anything to come back for more money. If I do, it's not because, again, you know, anything could happen and these things, but at the same time, it's we've done everything we can to test, to evaluate, to consider all the variable that's in front of us. The building isn't 80,000 square feet or 60,000 or like the South North School, that size kind of thing. This existing building, 22,000 square feet, 2 floors, which is a footprint of 10,000 square feet. The gym is not 10,000 square feet. So there's a limit of risks involved. It's not a huge project. So I am comfortable what I'm presenting to the committee and the common council. And back to your question, everything in life is a risk. But again, we are doing everything we do to manage these risks every step of the way. So, and you know, getting out of the ground is usually the hardest thing, right? So as soon as you get out of the ground and do the demolition of the existing building and all the unknowns are known, I think that's where the challenges is. So we are very fully aware of it. And also I think Newfield Construction and us has a very good track record in the sense that, you know, this is part of, for, you know, when you look at Poland School, actually the first project, Newfield worked with city, actually the North Fire headquarters. So the second one was Ponas, third one was Jefferson and Cranberry. All of these projects we did after we signed the GMP, we never come back for additional money beyond what's in the contingency. In fact, we got level of contingencies for each one of those projects. So I think we do have very good track record in terms of managing these projects and within the budget that we present to the council. So yeah, I don't see anything that we need. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not. I think we got everything we need to do financially. Got everything booked for this project, enough to implement and complete the project. But back to your point, it's like, we do know that environmental condition on the ground, there are issues, and we actually put money aside to address it. Whether it's $130,000 enough or it's going to be $180,000, I don't know that. But at the same time, that's why we have some contingency to cover it. Sorry, it's not a yes or no answer, but it's
No, it's a realistic answer, so I
Good.
appreciate that. And a quick follow-up question on the subject of parking. I know we're not building parking, but have we factored in a cost if we need to lease parking from a adjacent property that has parking, whether it's the church right next door, the church across the street, the parking lot across the street? What's the status on parking for this project?
Yeah, that's an operational thing. We're just starting to meet with the churches to work out those things. I don't have anything specific right now, but it'll be part of our operation costs. Yeah, we're just now starting to meet with the ministers. So I don't have anything concrete right now, but I will have something concrete.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, let us go ahead and vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item B. Review GMP amendment for Cranberry Park Gallagher Mansion Improvement Project and refer the following action to the Common Council. 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a guaranteed maximum price GMP amendment to the Downs Construction Company LLC's construction manager contract for the Cranberry Park Gallagher Mansion Improvement Project for a total amount not to exceed $4,173,342. Terms of the agreement shall include total trade costs, $3,298,884. CM fixed fees at 2.5% for $102,991. CM contingency at 3% for $121,554. Balance revert to the city at project completion. And general conditions fee, $649,914. Funds for this agreement are available from the state DECD grant, account number noted. Will someone make the motion, please? Mr. Fryer, thank you very much. Much needed work that needs to be done here on the Gallagher Mansion, fully funded by the state, which we really appreciate. Alan, I'll turn it over to you for the details.
Thank you. This project is fully funded by the state DECD at $5 million. The original scope, the scope include there's on the property, there's a 5-car parks department garage on the property. A good portion of this project is tearing that building down. It's really deteriorated to a point that it's like, it's falling over kind of thing. So there's a new storage garage with a little bit of a off space kind of thing and then a bathroom in there. That's one portion. The other portion is we look at the Gallagher Mansion, and we're doing some improvements. So the two things that added to the scope is that we actually, which wasn't originally included in the scope, was that as we work in the design, we realized that the existing sanitary sewer line in the building, we really have no idea whether it's working well because we don't have a lot of usage during the day. And also it's very minimum usage. And then on event day, there's a much greater usage. And when we inquire about it, it turned out that we don't even know where the sewer system ends up on the property. So we did a whole bunch of research and we still couldn't find the existing sanitary system, also septic system. So I made a point about this because I don't want to finish this project and 2 months later, sewer backs up and we gotta deal with this issue. So we actually did a lot of investigation, and all the investigation we do, we still couldn't find where the existing septic system is. So we actually include in this project right now to fully cleaning all the sanitary line underneath the building to the outside the building, and we're putting a septic system in The building, I believe the fire department occupancy load is about 50 people. So, and then when we have event, we have a tent outside. So we actually designed the septic system larger than for 50 people. I think it's about 100 to 150 people, just in case that, you know, when people wandering in and using the bathroom, I don't want to undersize it. So we actually put a large septic system out there for event in case that people uses it. The second thing we added to this project was to provide air conditioning originally basically for a good portion of the first floor in the 2 rooms on the second floor when a lot of times we have weddings and stuff, and the bride and grooms upstairs in the rooms. And because similar to nice for the recreation center, the bids came in for this project also very, very unpredictable. So we had to scale back somewhat. So what we're doing is that we are still providing air conditioning for the larger common spaces, the library, the lobby, and the first floor spaces, the main spaces, but we are not bringing air conditioning to a couple of the rooms upstairs. So we do have an increase the scope because I think that those 2 things are important. Make sure that we have a septic system, functioning septic system on the property, as well as providing air conditioning because they open up the facility for summer event. Because typically in summertime, people probably don't want to rent it because no AC and it's just not for a formal event. It doesn't work well. So I think we added some positive scope into the project. This project, like I said before, this project also came in higher than the estimate. So we went through another value engineering cycles and stuff like that, and also reduced the owner contingency. Typically, we like the owner contingency to be 5%, but I think we get it down to like 2.5% or so, and I believe we can manage that because replacing the Parks garage, the 5-car garage, is somewhat straightforward. It's not a complicated building. It's just a frame building. Really, no mechanical system. It's just a little bit of heating elements in one of the room. So we feel that, you know, it's very predictable in terms of construction costs. So I think we lower the contingency. It's okay to do. I think assuming, and also the CM contingency as well. So at the end of the day, if there's money left over from this money, I think only thing we excluded so far, it's actually a new kitchen equipment. So if there's money remaining towards the end of the project, we can spend the money to secure new kitchen equipment. It's not a full kitchen; it's really a heating kitchen. But the equipment there are somewhat right now is somewhat like residential grade. So we want to get commercial grade so that when the whole event it functions better for the caterers. So we have plans in case there's money remaining at the end of the project, we can expand it for something that we do still need. Anyway, I think that's about it. So we are within the state allowed budget for this project, and I think this is the project we will be finished by potentially was December next year, November or something like that. This year, end of the year. And I think what we're going to do is talking to Downs Construction, is the construction manager. Maybe we can, you know, the garage may take a little longer because of the demolition and full new build, but renovation existing building, maybe we can do a little earlier and faster. So maybe we can get it done by September, hopefully, you know. So but that's something we're looking at. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, you know, this is really such an important building that we, you know, do these renovations because it's a source of revenue for the city, you know, to be able to rent it. I attended a wedding many years ago there, you know, and it was, you know, it's hot. It's hot. So I do have a question about the air conditioning. The air conditioning you're putting in, is that central air?
Yes.
Okay, and so have you looked at, and maybe this is, I don't know if the building is capable of handling that type of HVAC system, you know, the mini splits with the outside compressor. A lot of restaurants use them, and I mean, I actually have them in my house. So they're much less expensive and they are quite efficient, but I think it has to be the right, you know, I don't think every building can handle it. So I'm curious if you've looked at that, and if you can, you know, in the future, look at it for those upper rooms.
Yeah, there's two sensitivity. We try to minimize the number of units sitting outside. Usually, when they split system, we end up with like little compressors outside. We are putting one outside, and it's going to it's a little bit of a historic architecture. That's what we're sensitive about, both interior and exterior. In fact, when we put these the register for the AC, we try to hide them. So we try not to put one of those wall-mounted units similar to what we have in restaurants and stuff like that. So that's one of the concern. The other thing too is that once we do air conditioning, we are looking to provide replacement air and stuff like that. So it's more than residential, because residential doesn't have a certain requirement. When a public building, we have to put replacement air, so the system have to bring in fresh air, and it had to be cool that air because you don't want to bring in human air from the outside, and condensation becomes a problem. So it's a little bit different in a sense, but we are sensitive. We look at it, and again, we didn't want to put these unit on raised panel walls and stuff like that. It's in fact, we actually hide some of these registers inside the wall cabinets that they are now building cabinets, so that people will know that the mechanical system is behind it. So there are thoughts behind it, and also anyway, so we did.
No, I appreciate that. I recognize, we want to maintain the historic value of that that building. It's really important. So I was just curious about that. Are there any other questions or comments or concerns? No? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, that's it. That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item C, Board of Education Building Management System for the Kendall School. 1, authorize the city's purchasing agent to execute a sole source agreement with Connecticut Temperature Controls LLC for the Kendall School Building Management System for a total not to exceed $94,127. Funding is available in the following account number noted. Will someone make the motion, please? Ms. Dunn, thank you. I'll turn this over to you, Bill. I think that this is really, really important. You can't really properly heat the building right now because the system is so outdated. Is that correct?
Yes, and thank you for your time. So at Kendall, I think the last renovation as new was done 19 years ago. At such time, a BMS was installed, Building Management System. What that is DDC control for all of the heating, direct digital control. That system has been well used, and it's like running a 56K modem right now to operate, or an old operating system to operate a computer. While it's functioning, it's not functioning to its maximum, and as a result, we need to upgrade that. We chose Connecticut Temperature Controls because they already have the system in place. And by upgrading this current system, we would still use the same end devices. What are end devices? Thermostats, valve controls, control panels, and whatnot, as opposed to tearing it all out, replacing it new. This cost would be 10 times this amount. So we went to CDC. We asked them for a price to upgrade the existing proprietary system. Now, proprietary, we use a lot. We use that term a lot. Proprietary systems in all of the buildings include fire systems, intrusion systems, and BMS. In this case, it's the BMS. So what we are looking for is, especially in weather like this, where you want to maximize the heat and dial in from your cell phone, which we cannot do right now, we want to bring those features to Kendall School, just like we have in all of the other schools. Thus, we would need an upgrade to the current BMS.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Any questions on that? Okay, I see no questions. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. Thanks. Item D, building management LED retrofit lighting projects at various locations. I'm going to go ahead and read all of these. 1A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Energy Resources USA LLC to provide LED lighting retrofit improvements at City Hall for a total not to exceed $199,102.56. B, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents with Eversource Energy to apply for energy incentives and energy efficient upgrade financing through Eversource on-bill financing program for the City Hall LED lighting retrofit improvements project. 2A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Energy Resources USA LLC to provide LED lighting retrofit improvements at the Norwalk Health Department for a total not to exceed $35,622.16. B, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents with Eversource Energy to apply for energy incentives and energy efficient upgrade financing through Eversource on-bill financing program for the Norwalk Health Department LED lighting retrofit improvements project. 3A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Energy Resources USA LLC to provide LED lighting retrofit improvements at the Nathaniel Eli Center for a total not to exceed $60,493.39. And B, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents with Eversource Energy to apply for energy incentives and energy efficient upgrade financing through Eversource on-bill financing program for the Nathaniel Ely and Center LED lighting retrofit improvements project. 4A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Energy Resources USA LLC to provide LED lighting retrofit improvements at Roosevelt Center for a total not to exceed $41,548.66. B, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents with Eversource Energy to apply for energy incentives and energy efficient upgrade financing through Eversource on-bill financing program for the Roosevelt Senior Center LED lighting retrofit improvements project. Will someone make the motion, please? Ms. Edie, thank you very much. Alan, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you. We've been hearing that the Eversource looking to restructure all the incentive programs and to be actually less aggressive, I guess, in terms of funding them. So we are trying to get these projects in as soon as we can. I think that's somewhat time sensitive. Most of these buildings we have done, like City Hall, we've probably done like 3 different retrofitting, and again, about a year ago we did the parking lot for the second time in terms of retrofit work kind of thing. But in any event, these projects are always been on our books. But again, sometimes when we do it, when they retrofit, it takes us a few years before it's worthwhile, because once you do upgrade, you just have to wait a little bit, and so that the next technology came along and the efficiency came along, that's worthwhile to spend the money to do it, so that we recover the cost. So right now we're looking at these 4 buildings. There's the goal here is to, I think once City Hall is $100-some thousand, whatever. The company will go out and we issue RFP listing all the fixture we want to replace, and we also projected what type of fixture we're going to replace it with in terms of the wattage of the fixtures. So based on that information, I think we got 3 or 4 proposals. I forgot what it is. Neil's the one that managed it. And then we did an interview and shortlist them, interview them, and then we asked for additional information. And the recommendation is this company. So what this company will do is go through it one more time and do a detailed listing all the light fixture we're going to change, and submit them to Eversource. And then Eversource will determine how much incentive, which is incentive is it's grant, right? So they will determine how much we get for each building. The balance of it is calculated based on the payment of it is based on a break-even schedule. So what it does is that let's say the project is $100,000, they gave it $40,000 incentive, so $60,000. So they figure how much electricity we're gonna save per year and divide it up and then calculated that, that every month we have to put, let's just say $4,000, and we'll save $4,000. And then what we do is that we'll continue to pay our electric bill, but all the electric bill that we pay, the $4,000 go to debt services. So that's one of the reasons why when you look at these actions, there's no account numbers. The reason why there's no account number is because there's no capital outlay by the city. The payment for the capital outlay is based on the reduction of our electric bill. Really doesn't reduce it, but portion of electric bill will actually go into the debt service to Eversource. So that it's not like we don't have a upfront capital cost. It's paid through operating expenses. So overall, I think this is, so in generally speaking, there is no, this retrofit project will be paid for, and through incentive as well as from the operating expenses that we save, the money that we save on electricity will pay for the capital costs. And generally speaking, I think this typically the depreciation is probably between 3.5 years to 4.5 years. I think that's what Eversource want to look at. When you get to 7 years, something that they don't really want to do because it's just it's a little too long. So I think the Eversource position has always been 3.5 to 4.5 years or so.
Mhm.
I think that's all I have.
Alan, is the cost in line with what we've paid in the past for retrofitting, LED retrofitting?
I think each building is very different. When we go for these analysis, like in the closet, we don't change. Sometimes we don't change to a LED fixture because the closet doesn't. We don't use it often. We don't go in there. And it's not even worth the money. Sometimes we just buy an LED light bulb and put it into the fluorescent light bulb, right? So we had to look at each one of these. How much we pay. The number that we pay for these, I don't know what it is, but at the same time, Eversource is the body that managed the program and decide an incentive the city's going to get. So they have a whole rigid calculation that if you have a 100-watt, let's say 32-watt fluorescent light bulb, you go LED, it's only 13 watt. So they regulate and they determine what you are. From what to what and how much is energy saved and stuff. So there is requirements. So it's not like arbitrarily we decide, that this fixture we get that kind of thing. So they have standards of requirements that the conversion factors and reduction factors and what's worth it. Instead of 28 watts, you go to 13 watts and that's acceptable. So you really have to buy a fixture that with those requirements. So it's somewhat regulated. So it's not arbitrary that one building would get more or less. It's a per fixture comparison between what we have to what we're required to put in.
Okay, any further questions? Mr. Frere?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Alan. I'm not quite understanding. So for example, on number 2 is 35. The number that we're talking about is not going to exceed 35,622. Are you saying that this is we don't have an account that's going to go up against, but what we're doing is we're paying that money, or that money is going to go toward the cost of these improvements that Eversource is going to do?
Yes, 35,000. Eversource is going to have. I'm not sure this is true or not, but 35,000. Generally speaking, they will have 2 programs. One is incentive money. They will pay the contractor.
Right.
Let's just say that's like $35,000 to 15 grand. It's a grant to the city, but instead of paying the city, they will pay the contractor. The other $20,000, Eversource will also write them a check for $20,000. And then the city, as part of our electrical consumption monthly billing, will still pay the same. The portion of our bill will go to debt service for $20,000.
So that other little number, like if I look at my Eversource bill, that little number of community service on the side or whatever they call it is, it seems to change every time I look at it. But so that's what this 35,622 would be. Okay, so we're paying our bill normally, but Eversource has taken a portion of that bill that we've paid and said, okay, it's time to retrofit this, and we can still, it's going to benefit the customer as well as us that we refresh this equipment that's in there.
Yeah. So for instance, like our electric bill, the little, like, you know, that $2 or $5 our bill go to, and that money is actually the incentive money.
Yeah,
Again, I'm not Eversource. I am assuming the money go to Eversource. Out of the $35,000, we have an incentive program, 15,000. That's where the money will go to. The $20,000 is a debt service that we be paying. So they will put up $20,000, but we're actually paying that for our operating monthly electric bill.
yeah.
Okay.
So there's no incremental money out of our pocket.
Right.
Okay. So it almost looked like this is all free almost. We just continue to pay our electric.
Mr. Freyer, I think that the number you're referring to is for those who are not able to pay their bills. I
Yeah,
think
you're right. That there's a whole list of them there. And actually, it's a lot more than people that can't afford to pay their bills. A lot of it is. I looked into this the other day because somebody was ranting and raving about why am I paying that so somebody else can have their electric bill paid? Why don't I just not pay mine and you can pay mine? So anyway, no, there is something else in there, and it goes a lot of it. Some of it goes, actually, considerable amount of it goes to the nuclear plant, Millstone Point.
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's a hot topic you're touching on right there.
Let's stop there.
Always the one. Okay.
Nobody likes getting those bills. All right, any other questions on the retrofit? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All righty, that is unanimous. Moving on to item E, South Norwalk School, review bid recommendation for furniture purchase and refer recommendation to the Common Council for action. 1A, authorize the, excuse me, purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to WB Mason Company, Inc. for various furniture items for the South Norwalk Elementary School for a total sum of $1,108,466, funds available on account number noted, and B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $100,000. Will someone make that motion, please? Thank you, Mr. Freyer. Yeah, so this is, the furniture, fixture, and equipments, common with all of our new school and renovation projects. So Alan, you gonna take that? Dan?
I think we are Dan the man here tonight.
Yeah, I see Dan up to space in there, so.
All right, yeah, I'll jump in. I'm sure Alan will fill in as well. So just let me grab the memo for myself. So previously, the architect and the city presented the FF&E and technology packages to Board of Ed and Facilities back in September of 2024. After that, the final package was also approved by the Board of Education business meeting in October of 2024. After this, the design documents were presented to the state, where we received approval at the end of October to go out to bid. We, from there, finalized our bid documents, our scope, our bid forms, and the city in mid-November purchasing put the FF&E and technology packages out to bid. And this was bid in two parts, bid package number 1 and bid package number 2. Number 1 is the FF&E, so furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and number 2 was technology only. We received 3 bids total for the FF&E package. We did not receive any compliant technology bids at the time. We reviewed the 3 bids that we did receive, and determined the lowest responsible bidder to be WB Mason with a value of $1,108,466. So what we have here tonight for approval is to issue a purchase order to WB Mason for the FF&E portion of this bid. In the memo that went out, we do address the bid package number 2 technology, which is majority of that equipment is available under Connecticut state contracts. We've actually used that for technology in the past for other projects, and we're in the process of soliciting proposals for that work, the technology bid package. And if the values require us to, they'll be presented to land use in February next month.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan, can you just go over, we budgeted, I believe it's like, is it $2 million, whatever it was?
Yeah, so we started with obviously, we start with a budget very early on in the process when we have a conceptual design. And based on the size of the building and a number of other factors, our original FF&E and technology budget was $2.5 million for the project. We, as we completed the design, we completed the FF&E documents and technology. The design team, as part of that approval for facilities and the full Board of Ed board approval, we provided a detailed estimate. At that time, I don't have the numbers in front of me exactly, but we were at about 1.8 million for the furniture portion, and then another 300,000, I believe, for the technology. So our estimate after the design was completed came in at 2.1, down from our budget at 2.5 million. And here we're seeing that the FF&E bids came in favorably at 1.1 million. There are some as we get into the approvals for and release of all the different items, there may be some items that change slightly, and that's why we've included the 100,000 for potential changes, whether that be finishes or product availability. If something's no longer available and we need to switch what was specified to something else. So the approval tonight is for approximately $1.2 million, where our estimate was 1.8. So it's below the estimate. It's below the overall budget we had carried for this project from the beginning. So I think it's a good outcome right now.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
WB Mason does seem to do pretty well by us. Am I seeing that correctly? I mean, I think they've bid really favorably on some other things in the past.
I know we've received bids from them, but I can't speak to them being successful in Norwalk. I don't know if Alan recalls. I know there were some other vendors that we did receive bids from, and we did go with them on other projects. I know that, but on this one, based on the complete bid, their pricing, and meeting all the purchasing requirements as part of the bid for us to read and review the bid, we're happy with the outcome.
Great. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, very good. That's unanimous. And that ends our new business. Moving on to discussion, Board of Education monthly project updates. Do we want to have a quick update? The pictures look great.
Yeah, Dan, if you don't mind, can you just go quickly update the project?
Let me share my screen and I could walk you through the update really quick. All right, can you see my screen?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
No, I have to press share. There we go.
Hey.
No.
It selected it, but I didn't press the last button. All right. Overall project schedule, no changes for the overall duration of the projects. South
We are
Norwalk,
we're still looking to complete this project for the fall semester. And again, I said this before, the construction team, we will notify the Board of Education as well as this committee and Common Council by mid to late April to confirm our completion date in case there anything that may happen from now to April that can potentially affect opening day kind of thing. So we are on schedule. We are still on budget. So
okay, and just construction update, and there's the building, and it's hard to, I should probably put a floor plan here to help illustrate this, but in this image, you see the front entrance of the school. To the right side of it is what we call Building B, which is the east side of the building. And then to the left side with the main entrance, we call Building A, to the west side of the building. On the right side, it's kind of how the construction manager has phased the project. They're tackling the right side of the building first. That's the side where all our utilities come in. This is where our electrical rooms, our MEP equipment goes. So that's where they're starting. And right now we have it out in the field, temporary protected. So they have temporary heat running on the east side of the building as they continue to make progress on the west side. But just some items that are going on in the one half of the building on the east. Exterior framing, sheathing, and air vapor barrier is complete. We can look at the photos in a moment. They have all of the window openings temporarily sealed with reinforced poly, which keeps the heat in. They have temporary heat running, temporary, I believe it's a propane system that they're running throughout the winter that helps to provide heat to begin some of the finishes. And the MEP rough-in is progressed from the first floor to the second floor. This includes electrical conduit, ductwork, fire sprinkler, plumbing, roof drains, and other items. On the left side of the building, the west side, like I said, this is a little further behind based on their phasing of the work. They're still working to complete the exterior sheathing. Right now, they're doing some roof blocking on the roof, and they're closing in the building, which will follow the air vapor barrier. Also on the east side, since this update was sent out with the agenda, they're starting the brick veneer on the very far end of the building. So next month we'll see some of the outside of the building beginning to look more finished than you see in the photos. So this is the far east end of the building. This is the air vapor barrier. You see the soffits are all framed and closed in. The roofing is generally complete on this half of the building. They do have detailing and other work to complete, but it's closed, it's watertight, and that allows them to continue with the MEPs on the interior. This is all temporary closures. That's just for the temporary heat throughout the winter.
And the brick veneer will go on top of that the charcoal gray finish. Not, I mean, it's not finished, but it's
yeah. So this is the air vapor barrier, and generally there's a kind of a brick shelf that sticks out here with the foundation wall, and that will there'll be insulation installed on the wall, and then the brick veneer will come up in front of that. This is the roof level above the main stair. This photo was taken just before Christmas. They now have the wood ceiling installed and the roofing installed on top of this area. And this roof is, as you go to the west side of the building, is following behind the progress from the other side. This is the east side of the building. Before, we were looking at the elevation just off of this edge of the roof, and that was the roofing material kind of draped over the edge as it gets finished and detailed. That's all we have for the South Norwalk photos right now.
Yeah, before we go into Norwalk High School, at the beginning of the meeting, and this earlier today, me and Bill Hodel was talking about it. He was very excited about, he took a tour of the building today. He was very excited when he got back. And me and him talked about, you know, we are looking to, even though this is the middle of winter, we thought that some board members and common council member may have an interest in seeing like things happening, kind of, instead of going to like, you know, groundbreaking, not groundbreaking, grand opening ceremony kind of thing. I think some of us are very interested in how the progress of these project is and during construction. It's kind of fun and fascinating. So it's not really a PR session or anything like that. It's more of like you know, a fun visit kind of thing. So me and him are thinking about in January and February, we will probably look for a week that's a little warmer, like over 30-degree temperature and no snow. And last minute thing, we will send an invite to members of Common Council who are sort of a member of the board. Whoever is interested and available, we will do a quick tour of the building. I think it's very interesting to do, and it's you know, all the work that we all do. I mean, every month we talk about these things. It's nice to see the progression of a project, and especially those of us that are interested in construction, see how things are built. I think it'd be fun to do it. So that's what me and him is thinking about, sending a tour within the next 2 months, even though it's middle of winter, but we find a date that may work in terms of temperature and weather-wise. So, and we'll send an invitation to everybody. Whoever shows up. It's not a, you know, it's no whatever.
Okay,
Okay, Dan.
and if there's no other questions, we'll jump into the Norwalk High School P-TECH project. And you'll probably notice over the last few months, it's kind of been a lot of the same. It's a much larger building. So the magnitude of the work is greater. It takes a lot longer to get through the different phases of construction. So we're still continuing with the building, concrete perimeter walls, interior footing, piers, and that's going to progress probably into about March of this year. Steel erection will begin in early 2025. I don't have a confirmed date for when that's beginning right now, but in the next couple of months, we'll start to see the first deliveries arriving on site, and steel erection will begin. Concrete pool was completed. They've tested as required before backfilling, and that pool has been backfilled, and that allows them to continue with the footings in those areas and the underground utilities. They're working on the underground utilities throughout the building footprint. They've completed areas have been prepped, and slab on grade concrete has been poured, and they are continuing to prep for additional areas and working their way through that slab on grade, and that gets them ready for steel in the coming months. So just a snapshot. I think this is a typo on the date. I apologize for that, but this is a December photo looking at the building. There's, as you can see here, this is the vapor barrier underneath the reinforcing for the slab on grade. Some other things you can see here, underground utilities progressing within the building, and they're working from this corner towards, this is Narragansett in the background and King Street over here. The pool in this photo, you can see has water in it. That was part of their testing to ensure there's no leaks between the wall pour and the slab pour. Here's a shot of some of the underground utilities running under the building. Our electrical conduit. Here's December 19th, one of the slab pours on an evening after the pour. There's still a concrete finisher finishing it, so this isn't the finished surface, but this is still a work in progress as they're finishing up the concrete work for the day. December 23rd, this is what the slab looks like just before it's poured. You have your vapor barrier underneath the concrete, the wire mesh, which is set up so that it lands in the middle of the concrete slab. And this is an area that they're prepping for another pour. This photo was taken December 23rd. And that's all we have for photos for the high school.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Oh, you want to finish that up? Or
Yep,
is-
and I guess all we have, if there's no questions on the high school, I could talk briefly about some of the HVAC upgrade work that's ongoing.
Sure. Anyone have any questions about Norwalk High? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
All right. So design documents for all 6 of the projects are underway, and they're expected to be complete by the end of January. Where city is currently working on an RFP for construction management services. The plan is to have them oversee 5 of the schools. The plan that will be advertised in the month of January and be brought for approval in March is the timeline. Remaining school Brookside, this will go out to direct bid for a general contractor in January this month. In addition, it's anticipated that the rooftop mechanical equipment will be replaced this summer at Brookside. And the team is also looking at the possibility of replacing boilers at Rowayton and Silvermine on a similar timeline. The plan for 2025 is to assess and complete environmental remediation. So a number of these projects need remediation completed in advance so that once we do mobilize on site to complete the work, there's no delays or reason to hold up the work. And then the work will be completed in the summer of 2026 for much of the scope that's being planned. And I mean, there's a number of projects. There's a significant budget combined for all of them. There's no photos or much information to share, but we do have some snapshots here that were pulled from a poster that was floating around in City Hall for some time. But just a snapshot of the grant commitment, the city's portion, and the overall project cost for each of the different schools.
Just very briefly, I don't want to take up too much time anyway, but bottom line is that Brookside School we are doing a little differently. The reason being it's a rooftop units that we're replacing. We actually out to bid already. The bid's going to come back this month, and assuming that we do get bids, I think mechanical contractor bid is very challenging right now. So we are trying to go out and try to recruit bidders for this project. But the challenges here is that assuming that we get the bids back in end of January, and then we go to land use for approval and common council approval in early February, and by the time we sign the contract, and then the contractor will go out and do the shop drawings for the equipment, and by mid-March or so, they will submit it to the manufacturer to be in queue for production. We are projecting right now it takes about 4 months for delivery equipment. That puts us to the middle to late of July, and we need to finish these projects by middle of August. So basically, we have less than probably 2-3 weeks to do installation. The problem is that what the manufacturers say now doesn't mean that that's going to come true by April and May come or June comes, you know. And well, what gets whatever. So the way we bid this out now, so for a little more detail, is that we bid out based on normal potential achievable schedule, but we are asking for the bidder to submit an alternate item in the event that the manufacturer could not deliver on time. And then we will actually do the installation in weekends and holidays and after hours past the school opening. So we have to keep the mechanical system running because it provides fresh air into the building. So we have to do off hours. So there would be a cost premium. So there's a base bid and an alternate item, which is premium cost to do this project past the summer months. So that's where we are. The other projects, we are, again, like Dan said, we are looking to do the boiler at Silver Mine and Rowayton because they are one of the worst condition boilers in the system. But then the boiler, we can actually start demolition as long as we address the abatement. Depends on what level of abatement we have to do. We can start the boiler replacement before school ends in the spring. So we can start potentially like May 15 kind of day, and we can go into October to finish the boiler, and then turn the boiler on like first week of October. So we have a little more time to the boiler project. Also, delivering time for boilers are a little quicker. The other thing we're looking into is that all the other 5 projects, we are looking into evaluate what kind of environment hazard material abatement, asbestos and whatever we have when we do these projects. So potentially, depending on the scope and where it is, we may do some of those this year so that reduces the workload for summer 2026. Because when you do abatement, it probably takes 2 weeks away from the schedule. And there's, in summer, we only have probably like 8 weeks to do things. So again, to the extent that we can do abatement this year and get it out of the way for some of these projects, we'll try to. So those are all the aspects of the project that we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions or comments on those projects? Okay, seeing none, I will call for that last motion. Ms. Dunn, you want to make it?
Adjourn.
All in favor? All right, we are adjourned. Happy New Year, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.